Alrighty folks, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the vlog. Y'all know the deal. We are in Shake and Bake. We're actually driving Shake and Bake now. It's been a long time since we stopped. I actually had a talk while we're driving Shake and Bake. So, yeah, this is a question I get a lot on my Instagram and YouTube comments. I get this question all the time. So stay tuned. I'm going to try and help answer it. Alright folks, here's the question I get all of the time. Should I modify my 5.7? Should I upgrade to a Scat Pack or buy a 6.4G BGE block? Or should I even go for the Hellcat? My reply is always two things. What's your budget? And what's your plan? And what's your goals? Those two things are going to determine which route you're going to need to go. Okay? So you got to have a goal and a plan, and you got to have a budget. I can't answer your question without those two pieces of information. Right? So I'm going on the auspice. You're going to tell me, Don, I want to make 1,000 horsepower. We'll say everyone wants to make 1,000 horsepower. So let's say your goal is 1,000 horsepower. All right? So you can do that with all three platforms, 5.7, 6.4, or the 6.2 Hellcat motor. You can make 1,000 horsepower with all three of those platforms. The only difference between those three platforms from a build perspective is money, time, and the patience you have for the build. So let's start off again. 1,000 horsepower. If you don't have a budget to buy a 6.4 BGE block along with the drop-ins to go with it, then modify your 5.7 and do it over time like I have. So I never had the budget to go outright and buy a 6.4 BGE block and just do everything to modify that. Arguably I could have, but y'all know me, I'm a 5.7 guy. Love the 5.7, and that's why I've stayed in the 5.7 range, is because I like the 5.7 platform, and I haven't seen anyone really push them this far. But if your budget doesn't allow for the other two trim levels or the other two engines, right? You can do an engine swap. Then modify your 5.7, do it over time, build it up, and the next thing you know, within a year or two, maybe 3, you're in the 1,000 horsepower range, right? But it's going to take a lot. You guys can look at my build in the description just to get it to 1,000 horsepower with a 5.7. It takes a ton of modifications along with the entire drivetrain, right? So you're going to need axles, you're going to need a transmission, you're going to need a drive shaft, right? So that's one thing. If you stay 5.7, it's going to cost, and you're going to have to either, if you got the money up front and you want to do 5.7, that's fine, but it's going to cost, and it's going to take time. Now, you 5.7 guys are probably going to burn me a little bit, but if you've got the money to do a 6.4, I would go ahead and do the 6.4. Go ahead and get a 6.4 BGE, drop-ins, and a supercharger, and the next thing you know, you're making as much power as you want. Look at wide body Mopar bike. way back when he first started. He was getting into that 1,000 horsepower, you know, with drop-ins. He didn't even do anything to his heads. He's still on stock heads on his 6.4 BGE. So the thing about going with larger displacement is it puts a lot less pressure on the rest of the car. So this is just physics. You can make the same amount or more power with the same amount of boost with a larger cubic inch engine than you would with a smaller cubic inch engine. So, you know, I'm making 17, 18 pounds of boost, and we're getting close to that 1,000 horsepower, where you could probably do it with 15, 16 pounds of boost on a 6.4. Again, that puts a lot less pressure on the rest of the car. The drivetrain, the transmission, the axles, the tires, the wheels, all of that. So if you can afford to go 6.4, I wholeheartedly support going 6.4. It is what it is. Now the Hellcat conversation. Let's get into the Hellcat conversation. Because the 6.4, you're going to have to do some drivetrain mods too. So for the 6.4, eventually you're going to have to do, again, the drive shaft, the transmission, and the axles. You're going to have to redo those in some shape or form. So let's move on to the Hellcat piece. So if you can afford it, buy a Hellcat, do a pulley swap, do an injector swap, move to E85, and bam, you're well over 1,000 horsepower. Well into a 9-second car. Just that simple. It's that easy with a Hellcat. So if you can buy a Hellcat, and you know, with a few easy modifications, literally you could probably do yourself. You're in that 1,000 horsepower, you know, 9-second car. So there's my thoughts on, should I modify my 5.7 or should I upgrade? It depends on those two things: your goals and your budget. It really depends on those two things: your goals and your plan, and your budget. So there's my thoughts. You know, if you want to stay 5.7 like me, be prepared. Be prepared for the laundry list of modifications you're going to do. All of mine are in the description again. You're going to have to do a lot to make it happen compared to the other two trims. So there's kind of my answer. Hopefully that stirs up everybody's brain a tad before you come and ask the question, should I modify my 5.7? Again, I need to know your goals, your plan, and what your budget is. And then we can go from there. So that's my thoughts. That's it for this one, folks. If you got questions or anything, hit me up on Instagram. And if I can't answer it, I'll definitely try and find someone that can get you the answer. And we can go from there. That's going to do it for this one, folks. If you're stopping in for the first time, please check out the rest of the channel. If you like what's going on with the rest of the channel, do me them few things. Like, subscribe, smash the bell, shoot me a comment, share it on your social media. I'll definitely appreciate it. Shake and Bake will definitely appreciate it, because every red penny from YouTube goes right back into Shake and Bake. That's it for this one, folks. Till next time, adios.